In 2007, Nokia sold more phones than Apple, Samsung, and Google combined. Today, Apple and Samsung define the smartphone era. Nokia no longer makes phones. And this wasn't about bad engineers. It wasn't about money. It was one decision, made at the peak of success. They believed they were too big to lose. This story isn't about Nokia. It's about what happens when winning makes you deaf. Because companies don't fail when they're weak. They fail when they're convinced they can't. By the end of this video, you'll see the exact moment Nokia sealed its fate and why the same mistake is happening again, right now. To understand how this collapse happened, we need to go back to the moment when everything still looked perfect. Nokia began not in technology, but in timber, born by the Nokian Virta River, where ambition met the hum of machinery. Fredrik Idestam dreamed of modernizing Finland's industry, never knowing his small paper mill would one day connect billions. From paper to power, the company evolved, merging with cable and rubber industries, expanding its reach beyond paper. When the world turned to electricity and communication, Nokia listened and followed the sound. By the 80s, Nokia wasn't just surviving, it was pioneering. From car phones to satellites, the future felt close enough to touch. In 1992, Nokia made a bold bet: mobile phones. Risky, uncertain, but visionary. The world was about to change, and so was Nokia. They didn't just sell phones, they sold connection, emotion, identity, the human touch wrapped in finished design. Sales exploded. In less than a decade, Nokia became the world's #1 phone maker, controlling over 40% of the global market. But in the shadows of victory, the first signs of danger were already vibrating silently in their pockets. By 2001, Nokia had become a global empire, over 100,000 employees. More phones sold than anyone could count. Finland's pride had become the world's leader. Under Jorma Ollila's leadership, Nokia was unstoppable. Its slogan, "Connecting People," wasn't just marketing, it was prophecy. Nokia's R&D teams experimented endlessly. Cameras, color screens, ringtones that defined a generation. Every click, every tone became cultural memory. In 2004, they had it first, a touchscreen prototype, years before Apple. But fear of failure silenced the future. Nokia's strength had become its weakness: bureaucracy. Too many meetings, too little courage. Still, the world was addicted. Nokia phones were everywhere, in pockets, in classrooms, in war zones. They were the world's first true digital companions. Then came a man in jeans, holding a single device that rewrote the future. The iPhone wasn't just a phone, it was a revolution. Inside Nokia's boardrooms, the warning was met with arrogance. "We've seen hype before," they said. "We are untouchable." Engineers begged for modernization, but management feared breaking what worked. Innovation died, not from failure, but from fear. And while they hesitated, the world moved on. Competitors evolved faster, smarter, bolder. Nokia's empire had begun to crack. In 2008, the wind shifted. The market no longer moved for Nokia, it moved around it. Sales were slipping. Just a few points at first, but enough to raise eyebrows in silence. Some inside Nokia saw the storm coming. They proposed Android partnerships, but the idea was buried under pride. In 2010, a new CEO arrived, Stephen Elop, Microsoft's man. He promised change, efficiency, and survival. His first speech ignited hope. But behind the words, the fire was already spreading. Then came the burning platform memo, a brutal confession. Nokia was standing on a platform of fire. The solution: jump into another flame, a partnership with Microsoft. Symbian was dead. Windows Phone was the future. or so they hoped. Thousands were laid off. Decades of expertise vanished overnight, a mass exodus of the very people who built Nokia's soul. Inside the glass towers, optimism turned to silence. The numbers wouldn't lie. Market share collapsing, brand fading. By 2012, the once unbreakable titan had become a shadow of itself. Caught between innovation and nostalgia, between greatness and gravity. By 2012, silence filled Nokia's halls. Once a place of invention, now a museum of lost ambition. The layoffs continued. Departments vanished overnight. What had taken decades to build dissolved in months. Elop's gamble wasn't paying off. The world didn't want a Windows phone. They wanted the future Nokia had abandoned. The Lumia series was beautiful, elegant, colorful, bold. But beauty couldn't save them from timing. In 2013, the smartphone war was already won by others. Nokia's name still carried nostalgia, but not relevance. Desperation turned to negotiation. Microsoft made its move to buy what was left of the fallen giant. The unthinkable happened. Nokia, the company that built global communication, was now being sold to survive. For thousands of employees, this wasn't just a company. It was their life's work, disappearing in a headline. They walked away from the only world they'd known, a world that once connected billions. By 2014, the sale was complete. The empire was gone. What remained was a memory carved in metal and glass. After the sale, silence echoed through once bustling halls. Machines slept, and so did a dream. Innovation had left the building, but not the people. Their spirit scattered across the tech world. Former Nokians rebuilt themselves. They joined Google, Apple, Huawei, or started new dreams of their own. In their failures, Finland found rebirth. The fall of Nokia sparked a new generation of innovators. Meanwhile, the name Nokia didn't vanish. It evolved, reborn as a force in networks, infrastructure, and 5G. The mission had shifted, not to connect people, but to connect the world itself. From ashes to signal, Nokia's comeback wasn't loud, but quiet, steady. They no longer made the devices in your hands, but the invisible lines connecting them, that was still Nokia. Perhaps Nokia never truly fell. Perhaps it simply became invisible, part of the world it once dreamed to connect. The story of Nokia isn't about failure. It's about evolution. And sometimes, evolution requires letting go. The world moved on, but the memory remained. Every click, every ringtone still echoes in the collective heart of a generation. For some, it's a relic. For others, a time machine to when life felt simpler and connection was pure. We didn't lose because we were stupid. We lost because we stopped listening to the world and to ourselves. In business schools, Nokia became more than history. It became a lesson, a map of how brilliance can blind itself. Innovation isn't about genius, it's about humility. The courage to disrupt yourself before someone else does. Finland rebuilt from its lessons. Innovation returned, not from one giant, but from thousands of small, fearless minds. Sometimes, you have to fall, not to fail, but to remember why you stood tall in the first place. Every phone today, every tap, every call, still carries a spark that began in Finland. The spirit of connection never died. Nokia didn't vanish. It dissolved into the very airwaves that surround us. Invisible, eternal, alive. Empires fall, legends evolve, and somewhere in the quiet hum of a signal, Nokia still connects people